It is a big year for the Dallas Cowboys linebackers, and the Marvin Overshown's recent comments make us even more excited about what's to come in 2024. Let's get to it. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network, and catching up with you guys in between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with quick hitting videos. Welcome into the show, man. Tonight, we'll be talking some linebackers because the Marvin Overshown talked to the media and kind of like just putting all of the pieces together, it becomes a very exciting storyline. And just to recap very quickly how Overshown's trajectory in his still short NFL career has gone, right? Arrives at Dallas as a third-round pick, and all of us were thinking, it's going to be tough to get him on the field, but Overshown is a clear-cut Dan Quinn type linebacker, former safety, turned into a linebacker. He was on the lighter end of things for the position in terms of weight. So it kind of made a lot of sense. And immediately we all thought, plus year one, he's going to be a special teams menace, right? And then we get to training camp. He's lighting it up, get to preseason, translating it into game days. And then he suffers a season-ending injury and all that kind of goes down the drain. And now fast forward to 2024, Dan Quinn is out of the picture. Enter Mike Zimmer, and we all are wondering a little bit of, hey, where is Overshown's stock right now? Well, especially with the ACL injury that he's working back from, and he's expected to be ready to go by training camp. We really don't know yet, but it's one of the most intriguing storylines of the offseason, I believe, for the Cowboys. But his recent comments got, I think, Cowboys Nation pretty excited. And I'm going to read you this quote because Overshown specifically talked about his role within Mike Zimmer's defense, and he talked about his target weight for the 2024 season. And I think that's the one comment that really perked my ears up a little bit and got me excited about what's to come. Because for those of you who missed it, here's the actual quote from Overshown. I've definitely gotten bigger since last year, and that was more of a me thing, seeing my future in this league and what was going to be best for my body to be productive on the field. He added that meant gaining weight, and not just any weight, but gaining lean muscle weight and getting stronger. I put on about 12 to 13 pounds of lean mass. I'm going into camp a little bigger, and I will drop to where I want to play at, which would be around 230 to 233 pounds. Let me put some context to that number very quickly, right? So let's say that he's aiming for 232 pounds to play at the NFL level this offseason, 233, this season. That's higher than last year. If you Google the Cowboys roster right now and you look at the official numbers, he's listed at 220. And that more likely resembles what was going on in 2023 rather than the current reality, because he's saying that he will be dropping to 230, 233 when training camp comes around, which means he is above that mark at this point. Overshown getting bigger is perfect timing for the Cowboys defense because indeed Mike Zimmer will want a different looking unit. He's talked about it. We can know this also by looking at previous defenses from Mike Zimmer. Simply, he's not Dan Quinn, right? And Dan Quinn was the guy that really deviated a little bit from that because he was open to playing with more of these hybrid type players and had the big nickel thing going on. And additionally, the Cowboys also had those personnel problems with injuries last year. So we kind of were seeing a lot of Jaron Kears, which, that's been going on for a few years. But then we saw Marquise Bell taking over at linebacker and all that. With Mike Zimmer, we're going to be looking at a more traditional defensive front. 230, 233, especially that 233 mark, would it be closer to what Eric Kendricks played at in Minnesota? And I'm not sure what he's listed at right now, but that's the kind of size that Eric Kendricks brought to the table when he was with the Vikings playing for Mike Zimmer as a Mike. And we'll talk more about the roles in a minute here. But let me see it. Where is Kendricks listed? He's listed at 232 right now. He's likely going to be playing 235, somewhere around that mark. So Overshown is going to be on par with Eric Kendricks. And what I like is that Overshown is still going to be much more athletic. And, he talked about the roles, and I've seen people make a big deal out of it. I kind of like hesitate to do so. So, just for context, Scott McCorley, the linebacker coach, he actually had declined a little bit to comment on which position Overshown was going to be playing. He was like, hey, man, we'll see when we get there, when we get to training camp. But Overshown, during his media interview, he said that he's going to be the weak side linebacker, the will, which means Damon Clark is going to be the strong side linebacker. And he mentioned those two things. And he revealed it, quote unquote, to the media. I'm skeptical about making too much out of this, but I do have some thoughts. But, just to explain why I'm skeptical is, one, as Scott McCurley said in an interview, chances are they're going to be very versatile when it comes to the roles for the linebackers. And chances are a lot of it is going to be decided when the pads come on, because we really still don't know what Overshown is and what he looks like, especially at a different weight. So we'll see when we get there. But additionally, the one thing that I truly care about, if I'm being honest with you, is that, sure, the Cowboys are going to be more of a 4-3 traditional defense. They're going to do all that. However, you're still going to be playing nickel defense most of the time, because offenses are not going to stop playing 11 personnel. They're still going to have 3 wide receivers out there. So what I'm truly intrigued about is who's number 2, period. Because Kendricks is going to be on that field. I feel like that is the one thing that we know right now about the linebacker position. Kendricks is going to be right there, and he's going to be the Mike. He's the one that really knows Mike Zimmer's defense. He's the one that's been calling it for years, and he can still play, right? 100 tackles last year. He was pretty decent with the LA Chargers. Obviously, they moved on. Also, a lot of financial implications, as well as a new head coach taking over, blah, blah, blah. But we know that Kendricks is going to be out there. He's going to be the captain of the unit. Who is going to be next to him when the Cowboys are going to be on nickel? Is it still going to be Clark, or is it going to be Overshown? And before I get into my opinion on that, let me read some comments here, because I haven't said hi. Where are my manners? Welcome everyone into the show, by the way. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining, by the way. But we've got Joe on the room. We've got John Jones. We've got Isidro. We've got Gregory. Shout out to who else is around here, man. We've got Delton as well, who is saying, hey, just put him where he's comfortable at. No experimenting. And I'm all in for that when the season comes around. But you do got to figure out, what things look like right now with this new defense. And that's what the offseason is for. Isidro says, I think that we learned our lesson playing a hybrid safety for an entire season. And shout out to Gregory, by the way, who says, please help Mo out and smash the like button. Yeah, man, if you're watching the show, if you're enjoying it, take a half a second to hit the thumbs up, man. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking that time. Alex Flores, this is a great question. He says, Mike Zimmer's system is better than Dan Quinn's against the 49ers offense. For sure. It's got to be. Numerically, Mike Zimmer has been one of the best coaches in the last 5, 6, 7 years since 2017. I think it's that number that was tweeted out when Mike Zimmer was just hired back in January, February. When was that? January? Can't remember with the whole thing about the new Super Bowl date. But whenever Mike Zimmer was hired, that number was thrown out there a lot, where Zimmer was one of the best coaches against the Shanahan offense and all of those schemes. Now, granted, it's also a personal issue. So we're going to find out. But that's one of the biggest positive aspects of hiring Mike Zimmer, just the fact that they've been better against Shanahan offenses than Dan Quinn was in his time with the Cowboys, but also in his time with the Atlanta Falcons. So, not just that short 3-year stint kind of thing. Oh, I see people talking about Donovan Wilson also being switched from position. No, I wouldn't get on board with that. Gregory says, should make Donovan Wilson a linebacker. Ooh, I don't know if I would go down that route. I'll just say that. I would leave him at safety, and he's a perfect fit for Mike Zimmer's defense as well for his safety. It makes me kind of think of that Harrison Smith type of role where he's shooting gaps, which we know Dono is amazing at, right? Getting into the backfield and making the tackle for loss. He's had several seasons where he's stood out in that area. And also as a blitzer, which with the simulated pressures and all that, we talked a lot about that double A gap mug look that Mike Zimmer likes to run, where he takes down the linebackers, puts them on the line of scrimmage, and he runs a lot of simulated pressures with that. People think about the linebackers looks with that, but he also does a lot of that with safeties as well, where he will have the free safety, not free safety, but say like the deep half zone safety, and he'll have him walk up all the way down to the line of scrimmage, only to shoot back into that deep half at the moment of the snap. So Dono, to me, he should stay where he's at. Now, back to the linebackers, though. Let's take this back to the linebackers for a second here. I talked about who's going to be on the field when the Cowboys run nickel. And sure, you like to have your strong side guy. You like to have your weak side guy. At the end of the day, I do believe if you're running like this 4-2-5 look where you've got a nickel defense on the field, you're going to want your two best guys. And that's pretty much what it should come down to, the way that I see it. And although I would lean into saying that Overshown could grow into that role, I also have to admit Damon Clark has a little bit of an advantage here. One, because he's played for the Cowboys before, and the Cowboys have started him consistently. And you can hear it in Scott McCurley's voice that they're confident in where Clark is at right now. And one of the things that Scott McCurley, the linebackers coach, was really insisting on during his media availability session was Clark's versatility. And he brought this up. He's played Will, he's played Mike as well, and that gives him a ton of value. Just playing Mike last year when everyone went down, it was just him and Marquise Bell. And Clark, keep in mind, not only was he calling the defense, but on a down-to-down basis, he was telling Bell what to do. Coaches and players talked about this back during the 2023 season, where since Bell was very new to the position, at least at first, they were like, okay, we're calling the play, we're calling the coverage, setting the front, you're doing this. Like Clark, hey buddy, you've got the B gap, you've got this, you've got that. Like, he was basically that voice in his ear all of the time when he was learning to play the position. So there's some value to that, especially for a coach that clearly values high IQ football so much. That's the reason why they drafted Marist. You can hear it on the draft call when Zimmer says, you impressed me, you blew me away, when you told us the assignments for everyone on the defense when we were breaking out film. And when you listen to Kendricks' media availability session, and they ask him what has stood out from Marist, the thing that he immediately brings up is also the IQ thing. So the Cowboys, under this defense, they will really value that. I would say at linebacker, they will value it over athleticism, which is a deviation from what happened last year with Dallas under Dan Quinn. So I could see Clark being the second best linebacker still on the team over Overshown, at least for a while. And if Overshown is able to really eat into those linebacker two snaps when the Cowboys are playing safety nickel, it's gonna be a massive achievement, I believe, for him, because it seems to me that Dallas truly values what Clark brings to the table in that sense. Now, as far as Marist is concerned, I do view him as a backup in 2024. Hopefully he surprises us and he starts playing at a very high level right away, but it would be a surprise for me if he benches any of these guys that we're talking about, barring any injuries, of course. And one more thing that I will say, though, is that I really like the combination, if it ends up going down this way, of having Overshown and Kendricks on the field. I kind of get excited at thinking that you could have a very smart player in Kendricks who might not be the same athlete as before, because, he's been in the league for a good chunk now. But he still shows out on tape because he still knows where everything is going. He's still that a player with great instincts. He's still that a player that has seen everything a couple times and is quick to react and break it down right with his reads. He's pretty efficient with all that. And having just a big time athlete like Overshown, because that's what really excited us about the Marvion, right? That he has this impressive range and speed and closing speed in pursuit when he's going after the ball carrier. That combination might be very fun to watch. And Overshown in coverage also sounds promising, at least to me, when we think about that range that he has, right? And especially him playing on the weak side, like chances are he's going to be in conflict a lot of the time. So that's going to be fun to watch too as well. Overall, man, linebacker room for the Cowboys, it does feel much better than in 2023. I do think the Cowboys improved there. You can let me know if you agree or disagree with that. But it's still a lot of risk at that position, though, because we don't know what to expect from Overshown. We kind of know what to expect from Clark. And with Kendricks, whenever you're talking about players his age, there's always some concern, at least in terms of durability and all that. But Kendricks has been pretty durable and available for teams in recent years. So I would say the risk is fair in this case. Let's see what you guys have to say, though, in the chat. Dono is a missile, says Bruce, but as a safety. Yeah, I agree, man. No Dono at linebacker for me. I mean, if you're going to play safety at linebacker, just do it with Bell, who has a season's worth of experience by now, and leave your starting caliber safety where he's at. That's how I would do things if I wanted to play safety at linebacker. But truth be told, I'm good with running things a little bit more vanilla, vanilla style, if you will. This does bring up, though, an interesting point. There's a lot of DBs, man, that I want to see on the field. A lot of DBs that I'm not sure how they're going to find their way onto the playing field. So Jenkins Gaming here says Carson can be the next Bland type player. He sees him as one of the steals of the draft. I haven't watched a lot of Kalen Carson, if I'm being real with you. But when you look at that defensive back room, you've got Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, and Marquise Bell, who at least showed you that he belongs on an NFL playing field, played a different position and still was pretty good at it, excelled in coverage specifically, which he would be doing a lot of if he plays at safety. Panjay Thomas, in the meantime, also lighting up in limited playing time, but being consistent. And then you've got Izzy Mukwamon. We've had this discussion on the show before, but could a position switch be in order for Izzy Mukwamon? Not because of his skill sets, but because there might be one too many safeties on that room. And if he stays on the safety room, is he gonna play over Bell, over Thomas? Or is he cornerback 4? Because the cornerback 4 battle is wide open at this moment. I'm looking at the Excel. That's why I keep turning right. Sorry about that. But you've got Trayvon Diggs, Aaron Bland, Jordan Lewis, Jordan Lewis, and then it's Nashawn Wright, Eric Scott Jr., Kalen Carson. Could Mukwamon just become the number 4 corner? Could it be? Shout out to Clarence, man, who says, I'm watching this young brother progress with his podcast. And yes, he's mature and doing a great job, so keep it up. However, says Clarence Terry, he still doesn't know more than me. Clarence, appreciate your comment, man. I don't know what to make of the second part of that comment, though, because I haven't had the gusto to talk to you, man. But hey, the gusto, I kind of had a weird Spanglish moment right there. The honor to talk to you, Clarence. But shout out to you, sir, and thank you for joining the show. I would bet you're right, though. I would bet you're right. I like Izzy's Mark Aaron. He should play more. Man, I've always wanted to see more of Mukwamon. Former primetime guest Izzy Mukwamon, by the way. We had him on the show about a couple of years ago, I believe. Shout out to Mook. But hey, Hankins, says Isidro, 1 to 2 mil, and Steven is a cheap ass. Jonathan Hankins. Man, Jonathan Hankins remains a head scratcher for me. I don't know why they let him walk. I'll agree with Isidro right there, man. That's the one that really baffles me. Because if you want to talk about Tyron Smith, Tyler Viotic leaving, at least they got paid. But this man is going to make $2.05 million in 2024, and the Cowboys didn't keep Hankins. And I'm not sure you can disguise it as big-time confidence in Mazi Smith taking the next step, because Mazi Smith is not practicing yet, and he won't be practicing until training camp. So can you really play it off as we're super confident in Mazi taking the next step in 2024 and we don't need Jonathan Hankins? Man. Now the question is, can Justin Rogers be Jonathan Hankins? And a lot of people seem to be very confident that he can. 7th-round rookie for the Cowboys. My one issue with that, though, is that I believe we kind of understate how much Hankins played in 2023. Because I'm looking at the numbers right here, and Jonathan Hankins played in, let's see, man, 33% of the snaps. For a nose tackle on a defense where the DC was dying to get multiple lighter bodies and defensive ends on that line, that seems to me like a high number. And also keep in mind, Jonathan Hankins, the Jonathan Hankins missed time. Yeah, he played 14 games. I'm just saying, maybe it's a little bit dangerous to be playing this game where you're betting on a 7th-round draft pick to replace Jonathan Hankins. But the true bet here is Mazi Smith. Delton says they want to go younger at that DT position. I think that's right. And I do think they want to go younger at pretty much every spot on the roster. Sheldon says, you look totally distracted. I am, man. I'm sorry about that. Not distracted because I'm looking at things related to the show, but I've got the whole PFR spreadsheet here on the right monitor, and I've got the entire roster because I like to have that bird's eye view. Sorry about that. Sorry if I look distracted, but I promise you I'm taking a look at things relating to the show as I talk to you guys. But yeah, man, absolutely might be a little bit of optimism there to think that Justin Rogers is going to be the right replacement for Jonathan Hankins. Bruce says, man, I'm just grinding out work through the holiday, but the time and a half makes up for it. And man, I know people are enjoying the NBA right now. We're going to be watching it in a little bit as well. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the show tonight. I appreciate you so much taking the time on this Sunday night. We will be back this week, ladies and gentlemen. Quick hitting videos Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday every single week, and then lives on Monday and Thursday. Gregory says, Mo, what are you listening to? On the earphone? I'm listening to myself. Not to be a narcissist. That's just monitoring audio. Thank you so much. See you very soon. Bye-bye.